Welcome to the Football 360 show, the fastest 48 minutes of football talk on the planet. I am JP Rock. He is Matt Bierman. How you doing today, Matt?
Doing great.
Couple of weeks off for you and I. Crazy time of the year, of course. We I think last year we took a couple of weeks off too.
Yeah, the
Um,
timing just was not perfect.
Timing's not perfect. Of course, we like to enjoy the holidays. I really get lost in the holidays, man. I have a hard time coming back to reality after my
Yeah,
really get steeped into it. And this year was even more difficult to get back to it. Lucky me, I wound up getting flu, COVID, bacterial viral infection, and I had a new addition to my family, little Thor Croy, 8 pounds 9 ounces.
that's a football name.
That is a football name, boy.
Yeah, getting
and so
sick on the holidays too, and then having to be around. You don't necessarily want to be around a little guy when they're sick. You're sick, all
that's
that stuff.
that's true. Luckily, I kind of like rebounded enough. I was still at the hospital and did my part. So everything good with that. How about you? Did you enjoy your holidays?
Yeah, it was good. We just took a little time off, got a few days on New Year's and Christmas Day, and
No Utah this year?
no travels, which was good.
Oh, man, that's nice. That's
You
nice.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't particularly love traveling during the holidays.
No, 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 not at all. So hopefully everybody had a great Christmas, happy New Year, all that good stuff. And back at it. Hopefully you got to see a lot of football. A lot of football went on. Very interesting times in the world of football that we're in. A
Mm,
lot to talk about. We could talk some Mizzou, we could talk transfer portal. I mean, 4,000 guys in the transfer portal. How
I
many of those guys are never gonna see a football field ever again?
A good number, and the tough thing is a lot of these guys are people that are being asked not to be on the teams, right? And so,
Yep.
like a kid being at 3 different schools in 3 years is not
Yeah,
unheard of now, but I heard
not at
one of
all.
the coaches talking about it, and it's like, like, are we really setting people up for success, grade-wise and graduation-wise and all that? Like,
Yeah.
you graduate or, transferring once and then trying to graduate was very difficult
Mhm.
to begin with, right?
Well,
Now you
yeah,
add in the complexity of 3 or 4 transfers, right?
yeah.
And it's just not easy.
No, I mean, we'll get into it. It's fascinating, but let's not kid ourselves what's going on here. And, interestingly enough, you have other people waking up to what we've been talking about for 2 years. And in fact, when we first started telling everybody, "Hey, this is professional football."
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember people got mad at you and I, right? How dare you? This is rah-rah for state U.
Mm,
That nothing's changed. What are you talking about? And in
yeah.
fact, I think you bore the brunt of that from some people too.
Yeah.
A
Yeah, and
and
there's guys that would chime in on the chat line and say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking
there's
about.
only one pro football league, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. And we haven't even reached peak whatever this is that we're dealing with. We haven't even reached peak what it's gonna be. So, and you have the Senate and the Congress, all of a sudden they've woken up and they've got nothing better to do. So they want to focus on college football and fixing quote unquote college football.
Well, and I think that's gonna be really interesting because they're saying that basically, the college football once you read the conspiracy theorists are saying, "Hey, the NCAA is basically taking a huge step back and just letting everything happen because they're tired of losing in court, and
Right.
it's cost them so much money, and they're on a losing streak." And the conspiracy guys are saying, "Hey, look, we're just going to let this all get as wild as possible, out of
Blow it up.
control."
Yeah.
And then hope that Congress comes in and says, "Oh, we have to help you guys and give you antitrust protection," which, in my opinion, if that happens, that could be the worst possible thing for the college athlete,
Right.
because then it's going to give the NCAA its enumerated powers back, and they're
Yeah.
going to come in and start making bad judgments again and bad deals, and so I think those congressmen and women, hopefully they are not being lobbied too hard, which you assume they probably are.
Oh my gosh.
They'll
Yeah.
probably get nailed, and that might not be the best decision for the student athlete. At the end of the day, let's not forget how we got in this situation. Let's not look at today and say, oh, well, yeah, this is a really bad situation. Now, let's
Mhm.
remember a few years ago when kids like Lamarck Brown wanted to transfer from Kansas State University
Right.
and committed to Ron Prince as his head coach, only to have him leave a year later and have Bill Schneider come in, who he never had a relationship with,
Yeah.
change his position. And he says, hey, I want to leave. And they say, no, we don't know. You can't leave. Sorry. And if you do,
Man,
you'll be ineligible for a year. No,
yeah.
even if you drop down to Division II, um, we're going to make sure you're not eligible. We want you
I
here,
I
right?
mean, we could really go deep into the dark days of people trying to transfer and being trapped and guys being blacklisted,
Oh,
okay? And I know you know what I'm talking about. Guys
100%.
being guys being blacklisted and just that's it, you know? I mean, they had all the power, and it's really funny. You know, you got Tommy Tuberville, who apparently is a senator in Alabama now.
Hmm.
He's one of the guys who seems to wanna lead the charge. You were talking about people getting lobbied. And let's go back and just say what it is. It's always been professional football, okay? But it was just professional football for the TV networks, the colleges, and the coaches. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always been professional. The players, they didn't have any part of it being professional in their purview or in their lives, right? They would just go to school, get your grades, bro. You want to transfer? Well, no, we're not going to let you, just like you said. And so now they have some skin in the game. They actually it's professional football for them. And so now you have people saying, "Wait a minute, pump the brakes," you
Well,
know?
yeah. And I think that is the disgusting thing of it, because
Yep.
it it before was it was professional for the schools because they're making
Mhm.
billions of dollars collectively.
Yep.
I don't know if they were running it efficiently, but they were still making the money hand over fist.
Yep.
They had free labor. Oh, well, you're getting an education. Yeah, but the dirty
Right.
little secret is they weren't even giving them that education. It has to be
Yep.
funded by someone else, right? Like it's not like it's the kindness of the University of such and such. It's just handing out kids scholarships.
Right.
They're funding it, right? There's rules where they have to be fully funded scholarships that either the university pays for or outside donors pay for, which in the case of the vast majority of big universities is raised through alumni and rich donors. And so
Mhm.
let's call it the way it is. They are pissed off that money is not, now that they have to pay $20 million a year plus to their athletes and revenue share. That's causing a shortfall. That's causing
Mhm.
people to lose their jobs. It's causing them to tighten their belts. It's causing them to actually
Have
run
to
up
be
their,
more efficient. Yeah.
right. And now they're not happy because they want that money. They don't want the money going to the collectives. I've said this. You could go back 2 years ago. They do not want the money going to the collectives. They want the
Mhm.
money going to the universities and the NCAA to control, right? And so if you watch, the sly thing that they put in was this, NCAA, clearinghouse, so to speak, NIL Go, which is anything over $600, they're judging whether or not that is fair market value, and
Mhm.
it's supposed to be a third party intermediary, which who employs the third party intermediary? The NCAA,
Right.
right? So again, anytime you're dealing with someone and they're saying that oh yeah, we have your best interest, we're going to have a third party that says yes or no if you can make money. And
And
mark
they're gonna tell you what your market value is? I
right,
mean,
and
come
mark
on,
my
man.
word, that is going to be the next big lawsuit. You're going to call, someone's going to say, well, yeah, this guy can make $5 million from this over 4 years
Mhm.
or whatever it might be, playing at Texas Tech or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're going to come and say, no, the fair market no, the problem is the fair market value is established between two parties, right? If
Yep.
someone says, hey, this Corvette is $70,000, and the guy goes, yeah, I'll pay you 65, and they meet in the middle, or 60 and they meet
Yeah.
at 65, that's fair market value for that particular car, right?
Correct.
And
Yep.
so there's nowhere else in our economy where someone says, hey, we're going to have a third party come in and then
Hmm.
rule if that's fair for you to buy those groceries.
Right.
Go to
Right.
McDonald's and have a third party organization negotiate between you and McDonald's how much you're going to pay for your value meal.
Yeah, tell you
Come
gotta
on.
pay $15 for a Big Mac just
Right,
because.
so that right there just shows you how absurd, and they're still trying to get their tentacles, and you cannot convince me that the reason why this is why it is and why they're setting these things up and allowing it to kind of go haywire is so they can get protection, right? And here's the
Yep.
things that they do not want. Okay, so they want antitrust protection. One, two, they want to make sure that the athletes are not employees, so they want to get
Correct.
protection from that.
Right.
Well, how the hell does that help the kids, right? You know, last time I checked, an employee is told when to be somewhere. Okay, so like when you own a small business, you have or any kind of business, you have
Yeah.
employees, right? And then you
Right.
also have you can there's contractors, right? Well, there's
Yeah.
very tight stipulations with the labor components of our laws that state if you tell someone when they have to be there, what they have to wear, all that stuff, times, and you set their schedule, they are an
They're an
employee.
employee. Yep.
Okay, by every stretch of the imagination and measurement, they are college football players or college athletes in general. They are what you would term an employee,
Hmm.
right? And
Always have been.
and so wait, so is the fair market value you're trading them in education for that? Like would that fly anywhere else in our
Yeah.
society? No. So let's just call it the way it is. So like if they do get these protections where some people are they're getting lost in the sauce, they're thinking, "Oh, it's getting so crazy. It's these coaches are moving, there's kids in the transfer portal." That's called the market sorting itself out.
Yep.
Okay. That's called kids. Where we see it as right now is a little chaotic. JP, it would have
Yeah.
always been this way.
Right.
Do you know the number of kids that got into bad deals or coaches left and they
Oh.
wanted to leave, or a position coach left and they wanted to leave? Or
Right.
things changed and they changed systems and they don't fit, or they figured out
And
they're at the wrong school.
and you know what's funny is, and if people want to complain about the money, the thing about that is instead of bagmen giving kids money at certain schools, now it's fair for everybody. And you
Mhm.
have people who have a problem with that too. The schools that were paying guys all along don't like the fact that you have other schools who can pay money openly just like them.
Well, right. That's how you get a school like Indiana coming up through the ranks, right? And
Yeah.
then and
Yeah.
quickly, right? They're what, the second losingest college football team in FBS.
Yeah.
2 years in a row they've been in the playoffs.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. Speaking of Indiana, you're going to find out, everybody's going to find out real fast whether you're a fan of a big time program, Indiana, right? Got the money,
Mhm.
they can do it, or you just have a program you're a fan of and they can't keep up. And I think all that's going to shuffle out. And you and I've talked about it, about a super league being formed. And that's really the way it's going. I mean, Mizzou, I hear stuff from Mizzou people, man, we just can't afford what some of these other schools are paying. Well, then that's going to show on the field. That's going to be your product that you present. And then so you need to figure that out. Everybody's going to have to figure their money situation out if they want to remain a big time program.
100%. And there's, like we talked about, the base layer for all of this is the revenue share, right?
Hmm.
That's what they should have been doing all along, right? They got away with it for millennia, right? Almost 100 years they got away with it.
Yeah.
Right. So a little over 100 years, they got away with not paying and then
Right.
terming them as student athletes. Right.
Hmm.
And then now there's this base layer, which is, for most schools is, 22 million to the athletes. And then, however you divide it up between the sports, but the lion's share goes to football and basketball. And then, now that's your base layer. That's your, hey, you're paying this amount for this position. You're slotting how much your starting quarterback gets, your backup quarterback gets, your O line gets, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Well, that's the base layer. The only differentiator now, before, like you said, was the bagmen were paying guys.
Right.
Now, and this is where I think this NIL go is really absurd. And this is why it gives credence to what I'm saying about why they would put that in place, because they don't want it getting out of control. They now are saying, well, hey, we're the ones paying. We want to be in control. We're paying you. Right? Before we paid you an
Mhm.
education, now we're giving you education and this salary. Look at how good we are. Look how
Yeah.
nice we are. We're giving
So
you
benevolent.
our hard-earned money. No, you're
Yeah.
not getting, newsflash to all the universities. If for some reason you turn the TV on a Saturday morning and it wasn't college football and it was a expose or a tour of your campus, no one would give a crap and no one will watch it. Okay. Without the
Right,
talent, nobody is watching or gives two you know what's about your
right.
school because
Yep.
they don't care.
No.
They want to watch the talent, the athletes, and they want to watch the athletes compete at a high level in a game that we all love. So,
Yeah.
but that money leaving and staying in the outside of the university and these rich donors are paying into it and giving these deals to kids is where the extra bang for your buck. That's what you talk about, like Lane Kiffin, like what was it, 25-30 million in NIL that
Yeah.
he has access to. So to me, you hear these horror stories of these kids getting denied of like these deals that they're getting, that they're getting it not approved. So
Mhm.
how much money of that 25 or 30 million above the base salary, so to speak, revenue share, is he actually going to have access to pay his athletes?
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see, like what percentage of what's available through the collectives gets paid out, right?
Right.
And say their budget is they want to spend 10 million this year. How much of that 10 million do they actually spend? And so right now we're in a weird spot, and a lot of people don't realize what happened. So before the house settlement deal went through, they front loaded all these deals before the NIL Go scenario. So there's a lot of guys working off of this time last year's contract. Okay. So
Yeah.
these guys are getting paid a lot more money than they're going to be getting paid next year if they don't figure out how to navigate this NIL Go situation. So I think, and again, if I'm a kid, it's my kid, your kid, and say someone offers, that his base salary at XYZ University is going to be 1.5 million, and
Yeah.
then they have an extra 500,000 in NIL for whatever component of that, however they set the deal up, and then someone denies that,
Yeah.
right? Because they say, hey, that's not the fair market value. Again, that to me is a lawsuit. That's antitrust. That's anti-commerce, right? So like how are they going to how's that going to stand up in court when again you have a unbiased third party, so to speak, that is being paid by the NCAA to do its bidding? Like
Yeah.
what are they there for? Like come on. Like again, maybe I'm naive. Point to me in our society other than collective bargaining but this isn't collective bargaining. This is not a union situation.
Mhm.
Where in the open free market do you have a third party telling people what they can and can't pay? This
Right.
isn't a public utility. This
Right.
isn't a energy board. This is a transaction between two entities, a person and a business, right?
Right.
Or whatever, a collective.
Oh,
No,
it's
it's really. I know I sound like a broken drum, but it just to me, if you just keep peeling the onion back, it's they want more control and they cannot stand the fact that they lost the control because the
oh,
court finally
1,000
intervened and set the
1,000%.
record straight, right? And I think
1,000%. You're not gonna put that back in the toothpaste tube,
no,
you know?
no,
It's just not. And so it's just probably gonna be like lawsuit after lawsuit. Another thing I think we're probably gonna get a lawsuit on, and I know you're seeing it, is you're seeing these guys who are entering the transfer portal and they have do not contact when they enter the transfer portal. Okay,
mhm,
so I mean, again, people could be naive or whatever. There's clearly tampering going on. All right. So we've entered the phase of where hey, I'm happy for the players. They deserve the money. But now you have people, agents, people, staff, whoever, right, are clearly talking to these kids probably during the year they're playing, right? And trying to line it up. I mean, who knows? So you could be a game 8 of your season and you already know, you have these
yeah.
offers and you already know I'm going to go here. I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean, you look at Mizzou, and I'm not saying anything happened there, but Bo Pribula, gonzo, man. You know what I mean? Didn't play the bowl game, all that, just gone. So
You do that if you know where you're going.
one
You
would
don't,
think,
right? You don't do that if you think like, hey, and this is an NFL scenario where it's like, hey, I got to preserve myself for the draft, right?
right,
Which is what a lot of guys have done historically. But JP, let's just be truthful. There's guys that are calling on behalf of people. There's agents that are
Oh,
working behind the scenes, and
it's a whole industry now.
yeah,
Whole
and
industry.
I was talking to one of our coaches today, and he had gotten a phone call from a number that he didn't know, and he answered it, and it was a college coach, and asked him
Mhm.
about a kid that we have who actually just recently went in the portal,
Yep.
and he just wanted to know more about him, and da 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 da, and so they went through it, and and then the coach was explaining what he had said to the coach to me. And he said, hey, look, our deal is, and he gave him a name of another kid that they should look at, another kid that's a power four kid that's going to, kind of be at that same level of this school that he talked to. Was
Mhm.
going to just looking to get somewhere and play his last year or two.
Yep.
And this coach said that, he was explaining to this guy, he's like, look, this is what we do. We train athletes, we develop athletes. These two kids we spent an extensive amount of time with. I think you'll like both of them. And he's like, look, the guy's like, so like, are you guys like you represent these? And he said, no, we don't.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we don't. No, our goal is to see them be successful. We're not looking to make money off of them transferring. We're not looking to make money off of them, doing an NIL deal. Like that is not the way we just want to see our guys be successful because we know when they get to where they're supposed to go, if they have a good opportunity, they're going to be just fine because they've been preparing for that moment. And,
Right.
I think there's so many guys.
That can't be making the guys out there that are making money off of it happy. To know to know
Oh
that
yeah,
you're
right.
doing that, man.
I mean, dude,
You're gonna get another phone call, be like, "Hey, what are you
hey,
doing?"
listen, our goal is to train and develop athletes, right? And I think
Yeah.
the funny thing is that there's so many people that are doing stuff out of the back of their car, like in the
Mhm.
training world. There's so many guys that are glomming on in this representative world, if you will.
Yep.
My
Yep.
advice would be to somebody who's going through this is if you are going through it and you are going into the transfer portal, if you have enough cachet where you're going to get some money, then that's going to draw some people in. If not, you're in a tough
Yeah.
spot because you're just not,
Really.
you don't have, there's no way incentive for those guys to want to help you. Like we can call on people's behalf and send messages to coaches, which
Yeah.
is really good. But like if your kid is like a power four guy who started 2 years, well then you probably do need an agent. But if you do have that agent, make sure that it's a person that's actually like a lawyer that actually
Right.
knows how to negotiate, not
Yeah.
just some guy who wants to
Who
be right.
Right. And the bad part is, like I said, 4,000 guys in the transfer portal.
Mhm.
How many of them have had guys who you say or want to be agents who've talked them into, "Hey, you could go here, you could make some money. Let's make some money."
And then the kid's out of there and he's got
I
nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, I get everybody having the dream, and it's difficult for people to understand themselves or their parents, or like you said, you got all these people coming at you to understand their own true value, And I
Mhm.
see names jumping in the portal. I'm like, What are you doing?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't know. Nobody knows what they don't know. Want to let everybody know you that you can catch us on YouTube as well as X. You can catch us on our Football 360 show. .com, the website, Football 360 Show on X, Football 360 Show on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and you can catch us on Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. on KLIS 590 a.m. in St. Louis, your Lou Info station. LouInfo.com is the website. Check us out there if you would. So we're talking about the portal. 4,000 guys are in the portal. A lot of local guys, man, are in the portal. Guys that we know. Just saw where Jacoby Oliphant, guy you know very well.
Mhm.
It went from Oklahoma State to Kansas State. Good for him. He's big now, man. 6'4", 6'5", 230
Yeah.
linebacker.
And you look at him, and he's going with Kansas State, and he's got
Yep.
Corey Patterson, who was at Kansas State, who's now coaching there. So you look at like the common threads. It's like the NFL. You kind of like in college coaching and all that. Like you follow guys that right? And a lot of guys, if you follow NFL careers, a lot of guys stick with coaches, and coaches bring them along because they know their system. Well, the same's
Mhm.
the truth in college, right? I mean, you saw the situation at Iowa State where they had 16 players left on their team, a week ago, right? Is what the
Yeah.
numbers I had heard.
Which is what
But you
woke a
know what's
lot of
going to
people
happen,
up, making them scream about what's going on.
right? What's going to happen though is a large number of those guys are going to come from Washington State to their and fill their roster in because those
Trevor
coaches are going to
Bindle.
bring their guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Liberty, Missouri offensive lineman Trevor Bindle. Boom. Washington State,
Donovan
Fitzmaurice.
Fitzmaurice. Same
Yeah.
thing. So you
Yep.
have that scenario going on, right? And then on top of it, you're going to have a situation where now Washington State's is going to have that same thing where they have 20 players on their roster, right? And so it's
Mhm.
this vicious cycle of who takes who, where, and where the
Right.
coaches go. And I think the timing, they're going to have to reevaluate the timing of this transfer portal. I mean, I understand, and I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was like, "Look, they should do it in the spring." And I said, "Look, logically, yes, it should be the spring, but here's what I know, and the college coaches do not want that because if they get a guy in, they do not want to get a guy in June
No.
and try and get him ready for August.
Right.
They want to get him in
Spring
January,
ball. Yep.
go through a spring with him, get him indoctrinated in the system, get him, working for the team that year because you're probably going to have him for 1 year anyway,
Mhm.
and then send that guy, give him the full experience for that season, right? So really, you're looking January through November, December. It's a year-round thing, but but that's the way it works. You got a 1 year cycle, and like I'm sure you saw this yesterday, but one of the kids we're real familiar with, we trained, and he's been on the show, Dayton Hopkins from
Yep.
Herman.
Sure. Yep.
If you notice, like they made a big deal, like when they re-sign these guys,
They're doing it. Mizzou's doing it with everybody.
and
Yeah.
what's interesting about that is one, it signals to your fan base like what's going on. Like I think that's
Mhm.
cool. Like who's gonna be back, but the tough thing with that is like, isn't the assumption that they're going to be on your team no matter what until they decide to get in the transfer portal? But no, what
Oh,
that signals is no, because it's a two-way street. A lot of these kids that are in the portal are in the portal because they've kind of been given the message that they need to be in the portal, right?
mhm.
And I think that's the hard thing for people to understand. Like they're technically not supposed to cut them. There's some new rules and some protections with the House settlement. But I'm telling you, from what I'm hearing, there's still the same hijinks going on with guys getting bounced off of teams that are compliant. Like if you have
Oh,
good
yeah.
grades and you're showing up and you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's protections. If your grades
Mhm.
drop and you are a nuisance off the field, then sorry, no one's saving you. But
Right.
I have seen some really good kids that I know that are good kids, good program guys, having conversation with their position coaches and kind of getting the picture that like it's better off to go somewhere else, right? Without
Yeah.
cutting them. But you and I both know there's a lot of
Eh,
guys that are probably in there willingly and a lot of guys that are in there unwillingly.
yeah, and there are guys who are basically told, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's just outright or you're treated to the point to where you're like, "Hey, I need
Time
greener
for me to go.
pastures somewhere." Yeah, and it's wild. The guys are hopping all around. Austin Romaine, right, from Kansas State, Texas Tech, former elite football combine MVP, Austin
Yep.
Romaine, right? Back in the day, nobody really knew about him, right? Came to the elite combine, 6'2", 235-pound linebacker, ran a 4.6 40, 35-inch vertical jump.
So is
Got,
that where he ended up was Texas Tech?
yeah, he wound up at Texas Tech, as
Wow.
what I saw
He trained
yesterday.
a bunch with Connor Flagel, one of our guys. It was and
Mhm.
Connor's man, this dude's an animal.
Yeah, you get a
And
lot of Hillsboro guys.
yeah, a lot. Yeah, there was
And
a young man, one of their linebackers. My gosh, Rodriguez, I think is his last name. Really good.
Gabe, yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
no, that's not.
I'm trying to think what it. I think that's
Landon Gonzalez, isn't it?
Gonzalez. Yeah,
Yeah, Landon Gonzalez.
I was
You
getting.
threw me.
I was thinking about Gabe Rodriguez.
It just
Uh,
met right. That's what
yeah,
immediately. As soon as I said it, I'm like, nope,
big
wrong guy.
body, long. 200
Yep.
plus pounds, tall. Yeah, but yeah, you look at like they just have a lot of really good athletes in that area that on that team, and Coach
Mhm.
Sikorsky does a really good job with those guys. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, this thing, as wild as it is, let's not let the NCAA get off the hook. They're the ones that created this scenario, right? And I
Correct.
know that the coaches, in many respects, they're just living in the system that was this chaotic system that was created,
Yeah.
and the players are too. And I think the universities and the NCAA are the ones that really to blame in the scenario, because right now we are in a chaotic time. It would be a real shame if there's government intervention that at
Oh
the
yeah.
beginning, because you got to let this thing shake itself out. You got to let
Mhm.
this thing, let the ship right itself, right? Because it is, every year we get into the transfer portal, everybody's all up in arms about it. But what do you expect? Like, there's a lot of kids playing college football that are going to go different places, and they're going to move around, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
scenarios that are justified to leave. There's a lot of scenarios that was probably not justified to leave. But like, I mean, what was oh my god, the defensive end, was it Robinson, the kid from Georgia that we
Yeah.
had this year? Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
leaving.
for a year. Yeah.
It was a Damon. Yeah, so he's leaving, right? And so the tough thing with that is like, I mean, he's getting sued right now. Uh,
Really?
Damon Wilson. Yeah, but he's
Okay.
leaving, and he's going to. I mean, who knows where he's going? He's probably got greener pastures. But he's the guy who's getting sued by University of Georgia. Mizzou was helping him, and that's
Mhm.
my understanding.
Yeah.
But he was basically in a breach of contract. It was a $300,000 contract, and I think he had received like 30 grand of it. So like, I'm sure, I don't know if he didn't pay it back or what the deal was, but they hit him with damages, like
Mm.
over $300,000 in damages, even though he only owed them 30. But they were
Yeah.
enforcing the full contract and saying, "Hey, there's damages here." So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I think the universities need to be really careful, because it goes both ways. And so if you're enforcing that, then you need to be the guys that are not tampering with people's kids. You got to be, it goes both ways, right? And so
Yeah.
you can't be taking other people's kids and then letting them breach contract and break contracts. And I think
Right.
that will look pretty bad in the court system when all that gets revealed.
It is. The biggest problems are going to be the court, yeah, issues that we're definitely going to wind up facing. And it's, I feel for the fans, right? If you were a fan back in the day, you loved recruiting, right? You signed your class. You're like, okay, we got these kids for 4 or 5 years. You knew who was on your team, right? It's pretty mercenary right now. And so you talked about Mizzou like announcing who they've signed, who's staying, right? They're so and so is staying. So you really don't know what you're going to have year to year as a team. So that's got to make it difficult as a fan, because everybody gets their favorites. Everybody's excited about this player. Oh, we got this player coming back. You really don't know, like Mizzou's got another quarterback, right? Let's go back to Mizzou, Austin Simmons from Ole Miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard what he's making, anything like that. They clearly have Matt Zollers, right? Quarterback who everybody thinks is the future. Well, hasn't finished great this year at Mizzou, and so now everybody's like, "Oh man, we need a quarterback." So,
So how would you like to be that kid? He just re-signed.
correct.
So I mean, good money. They're going to bring Austin Simmons in, who was
Mhm.
was the starter at the beginning of the year at Ole Miss, then got
Ole
hurt.
Miss. Yep,
Uh,
lefty. I think he threw for like 400 yards this past year.
yeah. So and I'll be honest with you, I was around him at the Manning camp last year, and
Mhm.
I was not from a player perspective playing. He
Yeah.
was fine. He checked all the boxes, big, strong, could throw the ball. And I don't know if it was because he's pretty young. I don't know if it
Mhm.
was that he just seemed
He's a lefty, right?
yeah, very immature. Like
Mhm.
very like he was like talking to the kids because they do these interview sessions.
Yeah.
He just did not present as well as some of the other guys. Very smart, very intelligent. I think he's like uber intelligent, like graduated school early, high school and college. I think he's like maybe too smart for his own good, but I
Mhm.
was one of those guys that when he was talking, and again, I don't know if it was because he's 18, 19, and the kids there 17, 18, where he was trying to play to their level. It just
Mhm.
gave off an air of it just was not professional in my opinion, and I don't know there
Right.
was something with it. So hopefully that isn't part of the reason why he lost out in that job, because it's tough to lose. He was the heir apparent to Jackson Dart. I mean, there was
Right.
no buts about it. He was the guy. You know, they brought Chambliss in to be the backup,
Mhm.
paid him pretty well to do it, and then you know he ended up, you know, rest is history, right? Took it over and
Right.
hasn't given it back. But you know, usually, you know, when someone comes back from injury, if they're the hellified starter, it's rare that
Mhm.
they lose that spot, especially at quarterback, right? The way that they
Right.
structured all the offseason, all that stuff. So maybe Shambles was just that much better when they got him side by side, or maybe there's some other stuff that we're you know.
That's what I'm wondering,
Or,
and, yeah, the ego's gotta play into it too, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
and
it's like you're not gonna come back and try to take your job back, right? So
right,
you just wanna go to greener pastures. Well, Zollers thinks he's the dude. So
yeah,
you're gonna have to come in here and win, and then there's the money factor. I haven't heard anything of what he's gonna make, but I know the top tier quarterbacks, I'm hearing like 5,000,000 a year.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah.
This transfer portal season?
Yeah,
5,000,000 for
two to five is kind of the going rate for these guys, like
the top guys,
the
yeah.
top guys. But you know, again, and that's the funny thing is, again, I like to watch the quarterback stuff because it's of a lot of interest to me because of training quarterbacks.
Mhm.
But man, JP, there are some guys. I'm not even going to say the names, that they're like posting up. They're the guy. They're the
Oh,
guy.
I know. Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I've witnessed some of these cats not even be able to hit a target from 10 yards away. You know,
Right.
five targets hit, or it's six targets hit three out of six. When I say hit, I mean hit the actual target, not go in the hole, just hit it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then, you know, like not to pile on Bo Pribula, but like as we talked about, like how much in this scenario, and again, some of it I feel bad for the college coaches because like how much time do you actually have to evaluate? You know, what's the thing with high school quarterbacks? Oh, we got to see you throw live.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is a component of bringing these guys in, is it evaluating their mechanics live on the field, or is it a foregone conclusion that your name is at the top of the list and we're signing one of these eight guys?
Yeah,
Because
it's the latter.
here's the thing: if somebody would have watched Bo Pribula throw live, they would have seen that mechanically he was not where he needed to be, and he was throwing up on the ball like he comes from underneath. He's got a real strange, you know, drops his arm and then brings it up, like just a very upward
Mhm.
trajectory, which does not bode well when you're starting to, you know, drive balls. And so
Right.
that was something that could have been seen well in advance, right? And
And
then, you know,
what's interesting though is as soon as I saw the quarterbacks in action all together, I knew he was the guy, and we even talked about it. I'm like,
mhm,
"He's the guy who's ready." I know a lot of people like Zollers. I know a lot of people liked, the baseball player
Horn,
Horn as well. I was never a huge fan. The problem is a lot of people really fall in love with these guys as soon as they sign with the school, right? And, you know, back in the day when Brady Cook signed with Mizzou and everybody's like, "Oh, Brady," I'm like, "Man, he is your guy. He's gonna be your starting quarterback. He's the best quarterback on campus right now, minute he steps on the campus." And lo and behold, that was the thing. But you're right. I mean, you and I see things and know things, and we don't want to say things to alienate anybody, right? We're nice guys.
right?
But man, there are dudes out there making money who it's crazy based on what we know that
There's
people are
three
willing.
guys that are in that top, you know, 10, so to speak, that I've watched
Mhm.
live throw,
Yeah.
and maybe they had a bad day. But I will
Yeah.
tell you, like $5 million for any of them when they can only make 700 to 800 in the NFL as a rookie
Right.
is shocking. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not the hey, I don't want to get in the way of them making that living, right? And life
Right.
changing money. But the truth of the matter is that like, you know, some of these guys, like, oh my God, like and maybe the college coaches think the same thing. And they're like, hey, this is just what we're stuck with. We got to go. So what's the alternative, JP?
Yeah.
Develop guys from the bottom up, keep them in your program, pay them well to keep them in your program and develop them, communicate with them, which a lot of college coaches do not do very well. It's a lot
Mhm.
of cloaked conversations and secrecy. And these guys don't get to a point where there's a lot of trust built between them. And that's why guys, you know, move on. And so, you know, so
Yeah.
what's the objective? Is you got to let someone else develop them,
Yeah.
and then get the best of the best that you can get for what you how much money you have, and hope that it works, right? And so they're in a really tough situation. But that brings me to a really something interesting. So I think this is going to be detrimental to high school recruiting. I
Mm.
absolutely think
One
Indiana
thing,
football
yeah.
is detrimental to college, to high school football. And the reason I say that is that's not knocking what they've accomplished,
Mm.
but what's their script? If you look at the last 2 years, their script is playing 22 to 24-year-olds, grad transfers, or redshirt juniors. That is their roster. It is comprised of older, mature transfer athletes. Okay. They have 3 sophomores, and maybe I'm wrong on the exact numbers, but I think they only have 3 true sophomores playing on their entire starting lineup. Everybody else, other than that, is redshirt juniors and grad transfer seniors.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of those guys are 6-year guys, I'm sure. Some are 5th-year guys, like with injuries and stuff like that. That right there, if that becomes the trend, is another knife in the back of high school football players because
What you
where they're going
know
to get
that
developed.
yeah, well you know that that's I mean that's all college football is trendy, right? So
Yeah, they're going to follow that trend.
they're gonna follow that. I mean, that's just gonna be the thing. How long that lasts, I don't know. I think a lot of Indiana football, I think that they've been pretty good evaluators of the high school talent that they take. They've taken some guys that other schools have overlooked locally, right? From this area, they've taken and done well with them. But when you evaluate high school talent well, you evaluate the portal guys well, you negotiate well. I mean, they've got a pretty good thing going on. And
Oh,
on top of
100%.
that, you've got a top tier coaching staff, right?
Right.
Who can
But
coach.
I would argue who's easier to coach? A guy that's been in college for 4 years, 5 years,
Right.
6 years, or develop a freshman and sophomore and get them on the field ready to play.
Right. No, you're right. And
I think that's I really do think that's because I'm going to read through their depth chart because it's this. I
yeah.
had this pulled up the other day. They have 13 active NFL players. Okay, so they have senior transfer, senior. This is offense. Senior transfer, redshirt junior, redshirt junior, redshirt transfer junior, redshirt transfer senior, redshirt junior. Uh, there's a right tackle is a redshirt freshman. Redshirt. The tight end is redshirt senior transfer, redshirt junior transfer, redshirt senior transfer. That's their starting offense. Starting defense, senior transfer, junior transfer, sophomore, 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 senior transfer, redshirt junior transfer, senior transfer, junior, junior transfer, senior transfer. Special teams, senior transfer, senior transfer, senior transfer, senior transfer, senior transfer, redshirt sophomore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
JP, that right there. So okay, so you look and you say, okay, who are they playing? They're playing Oregon, right?
Mhm.
They play Oregon. Let's just look at Oregon and see. And I haven't looked at Oregon's. Oregon, freshman, senior transfer, senior transfer, senior transfer, junior, junior, senior transfer, junior, sophomore transfer, senior transfer, defense, junior, junior transfer, junior, junior, senior, junior, redshirt freshman. So they have more of a mix. They have another freshman, that Finney, and then a couple more transfers. My point is, there's a lot of schools that are going to change to that MO, and they're going to go, hey, we're just going to go into the portal and we're going to get as
It's
old as we can because we're
yeah.
going to find the guys. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's easier to play against a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds with a bunch of 24-year-olds and 23-year-olds? Of course, because
No.
they know the game, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, but I mean, that's everybody. Look at
I
Mizzou's
know.
success. Mizzou's recent success has been because of the portal. Hasn't
Oh,
been
yeah.
because of their high school recruiting. I mean,
100.
even with Bo Pribula coming in, he's your guy. You have Mr. Hardy. What's he? Transfer guy.
Mm-hmm.
Caden Green was a transfer guy. The right tackle, can't remember his name, who's going to the NFL. Transfer guy. Mizzou's really good defense. how many of
So
those
my
guys were
question is,
developed there?
who is developing, and where do these guys get developed, and where do they place the most emphasis on who is important to them? Like I'm talking about the college coaches, right?
Yeah.
So like who is actually the most important to those guys? Like where are these guys transferring from, and where do they place value in them? Right? Yeah. So Mizzou is grad transfer, and then they have a
You're
freshman, senior
you're seeing
transfer.
a lot of you're seeing it pick up. You're seeing guys go places that I would never have thought before. Okay, so a guy that pretty well, Trey Bell, right?
Yep.
Parkway West grad, knew he was a dude back in the day. Went to Lindenwood,
Hmm.
right? Transferred to Iowa State. He just signed with Michigan State,
Yeah.
right? So he's on his second school in 2 years now. I mean,
They'll get paid.
that's where they're coming from. Clearly, yeah, clearly. I mean, so you ask where are these guys coming from? They're starting out at lower level schools, which is why we've said it time and time again. Do not turn your nose up at a lower level school that wants to recruit you. Don't think you're too good, especially in today's day and age. Go where you are going to play. You're going to get better, show your success, because you say it's going to kill high school recruiting. Man, high school recruiting,
Was
it
already killed,
lasts.
probably.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, high school recruiting really lasts. You could say it just turns into the portal, right?
Mhm.
So just because you sign with a school, you're not done for 6 years, man. You know what I mean?
No, no, you're not. I mean,
So
that's the tough thing is that the one hand you want it, right? We wanted these guys to be able to transfer, so we got
yep,
it.
yep,
We wanted the guys to be able to go to where they needed to go, so we got it. And so the a ramification of that is maybe you don't start where you thought you were going to start, right? Like
right.
let's and here's the tough pill to swallow is a lot of these guys that are like the quote unquote. And what's nice for the colleges though is they used to get stuck with guys they would miss on a recruit, and then they'd be stuck with them, right?
Hmm.
And that guy, like I'm not going to name names, but Mizzou had a quarterback a couple years ago that they recruited, and then they got him there, and I think they're like, oh, like this isn't
Yeah,
what we thought, right? And there's a
right.
host of reasons why. Not all the athletes' fault, maybe not even all the recruiters' fault. It just wasn't a good fit, and
Yep.
you get that guy, and he bounces out, and I don't know that he's found a home in you know in the year since that he's been out. So
Hmm.
and I think that's unfortunate because if you're good enough to get recruited to a SEC school, somebody should take you somewhere, right?
Right.
Maybe
It's
that's
tough,
even
man. A lot of those
more.
stories. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Oh my God.
I know there's a lot more to talk about, but we got about 15 seconds. Where can people reach you at?
Elitefootball.net, training every Sunday.
Yep. There you go. You're not going to give your socials. JP Rock
Yes,
MO
yeah,
on social. JP Rock Scout you on X. GPSfootball.org. Game plan strategies. Go ahead, set up a talk. I've lost my mind because I'm,
eval.
I'm playing eval. Yeah, I'm doing I'm playing beat the clock. Go ahead, real quick. Your website.
Getoffer.com.
There you go. That'll do it for us. Yeah, schedule free talk with me. GPSfootball.org. That'll do it for us. Everybody, enjoy your week. We'll try not to be as long-winded so we don't have to rush as we're closing out. Football 360 Show, football360show.com, Apple, Spotify.